My name is Pastor Hines Jr, Assistant Pastor at Hope's House Christian Ministries.
My name is Pastor Letisha Hines, Assistant Pastor at Hope's House Christian Ministries. When I was about 7 years old, I don't know how I knew or how I knew it was the Lord, but the Lord said that I was going to be a pastor. And I actually go around and say that I was going to be a pastor when I grew up. At the time, I didn't realize that I was part of a denomination that did not ordain women as pastors, or at least at that time. But it really didn't matter to me. And then as I grew more and learned more about Christianity and about denominations and about what is possible or what is not possible, I really just had a heart for the Lord, and it didn't matter anymore. And the more I pursued God, the more He began to open doors that led me into the direction of being recognized as being a minister, though not ordained as a minister. And then eventually, after we had gotten married and still were doing ministry, we both were ordained as pastors together.
What called me to ministry? I grew up in church all my life, and
me too.
Yeah, and my father was an assistant pastor of our church. We grew up missionary Baptist-costal, because we did a couple other. We're tongue-talking Baptist church. That doesn't happen.
We didn't speak in tongues.
Yeah, so after church services on Sunday, I used to go out to my back porch, and we would have church. I would re-preach I was 5, by the way. I would re-preach the sermon from Sunday on my back porch loud. I would set up the broomstick up against the porch, and that would be my mic. And I had a little pail that I turned over and put on the porch, and that was the pastor's seat. And then I had bottles and cans that we collected and stuffed animals, and that was the members. And when you prayed for them, they fell out. You know, it was really, my own little church world, you know. And
did they all get saved?
All of them, every week. Every week, I had 100% salvations, healings, deliverance, all that stuff. And I actually had some of the younger kids, my neighbors, who would come over and they would play church with me. And then they would be my assistant pastor and my deacon, you know.
Most kids play house, not church.
Well, we played church. I mean, it was really, I was a strange child. When I was 12, I felt like I was going to be a preacher, because that's what everybody called me. I'm in junior high school, junior high in a public junior high school, and they called me preacher boy. I was like, I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying to wear, you know, but it didn't work out. Exactly. So I told God, I said, I was walking home, and I told God, I said, I will preach, but I had an ultimatum. I want to do it where people can understand what I'm saying. You know, where they get it, they understand, you know, the words that are coming out of my mouth, you know, and you know, because I'm not, and he died on Friday, and then that's not me. I just, you know, that's not my style. So my calling was what it was evident to me because it was my lifestyle. And I preached my first public sermon at 15. I do work outside of pastoring. I'm a bivocational pastor, which means that because you really don't pastor part-time, there's really no such thing. If you're pastoring full-time. Even if you have another job, pastoring kind of, you know, envelops your life, you know. And so I work for the California Highway Patrol, and I'm a tactical flight officer, which which is the fancy way of saying I fly in helicopters. And I've been on the department for 11 years. As a flight officer specifically, I'm basically the ship captain. And so I direct when we fly, where we fly, how high we fly, and a lot of that's based on the area and all that stuff. And that kind of stuff. So I do the tactical preparation and work, communication, navigation, that sort of thing for the pilot. I'm the one in high-speed pursuits who has the spotlight on the guy. That's me. So yes, I'm the ghetto bird. So it's dynamic. It's a very dynamic job when we're flying.
Being the wife of a police officer, flight officer, it's really the same thing. They just do it's just a different function. It doesn't bother me because I used to work in law enforcement. I was a probation officer, a juvenile probation officer. And so you have a different understanding when you actually have worked in a similar environment. We work with the same types of people. Mine were just younger. I was at the beginning of their criminal career. And so it's the same mindset. It's the same types of people that you deal with. And so you kind of get an understanding of that culture. And so as long as an officer, period, it doesn't matter if it's for city, state, county, whatever, there's a certain level of just common sense you have to use. And if you use that and you're not trying to be superhero cop out there, you'll have a safe day, as much as a safe day as you can have. And so people always ask, how is it possible to be a police officer and a pastor? And what we found to be true is that it's the same exact job. One is just natural, the other is spiritual. You enforce laws spiritually and you enforce them naturally. The one thing that being in law enforcement has done for me, and also looking at his job as a police officer has done for me, for the both of us really, is it's giving us an understanding of who we are in God. Because what Christ has done for us is that he's deputized us to be able to have authority here in the earth realm. And what the California Highway Patrol did when he graduated and they said, here's your badge, here's your gun, is they then deputized him to say, now go enforce the law of the land. And what God does for us is that he says, okay, now I've given you power and authority over every demon and devil in hell to trample on every serpent. Now go and enforce the law. It's no different. One is just spiritual and one is just natural. And so they have so many parallels that I don't think people realize that it's that, what is the book called that you guys use like for your laws? I mean,
Penal code.
Okay, so the penal code gives them, okay, these are the laws that you're supposed to enforce. Well, the word of God as pastors gives us the spiritual law. So these are the things that we're supposed to enforce. And what most people don't realize is that the Bible, from Genesis all the way to the maps, it's a book of law. And a book of laws that the Lord has set on how we govern ourselves as citizens here in the earth realm, though we're from another place. So I also, as my husband, work outside of pastoring. Mine is kind of unique though, because I work as the program coordinator for the Hope Community Development Center. And the Hope CDC was developed to be the arm for the church, the outreach organization. And so we're able to do things in the community that we wouldn't necessarily be able to do in the church, and also be supported by outside companies and organizations who usually don't, or who don't typically give money to churches to do that type of work, even though it's the same exact work. So it's unique in that. So I'm able to have a dual function in the same house. I also have my own ventures, business ventures, in entrepreneurship. That is the epitome of my life. And the one, namely being Sweetie Pie Desserts right now. And what is a Sweetie Pie? Sweetie Pie is an original creation where I like to say you take a sweet potato pie and marry it to a pecan pie. What? And had an affair with a cheesecake. And this is the baby they all had together. It's delicious. would you like to try it? So, the reason why I have such an entrepreneurial drive is so that I don't just tell my kids that, but I live it before them so that they can see that their dreams come true. And out of that, for myself, one of the things as a legacy that I want to leave is a restaurant.
So if I compare myself to the preachers in LA, just Compton, Gardena, Long Beach, Santa Clarita, LA County. I'm just saying, it's where I live. I'm not taking your money to buy a Bentley. I'm not sleeping with nobody in here but just me. He said it vice versa, just in case you want to know. He's not sleeping with no man either. We're not taking no money. We're not pimping the church. We're not fleecing the church. You know what I'm saying? We're not misappropriating funds. Well, ain't no funds for misappropriating. We're living with as much integrity as we know how to live. We're living as much holiness as we know how to live. You know what I'm saying? So compared to that standard, I just get a free pass to heaven. But that's not the standard. The standard is holy and blameless in His sight. And if the standard keeps reducing every day to a lower and lower level, if I keep comparing myself to that, and I keep reducing my standard because they keep reducing their standard, I can look up.
We've been fighting this misconception for a long time. A lot of the perception is that pastors, specifically of large churches, some of even the small churches, are in it for the money. They live lavish lifestyles. That they are, I wouldn't say prone to, but they're having and continue to have extramarital affairs, or they're not faithful. And so it casts a light of Christianity that it's just this big hoax, this big Ponzi scheme. You know what I mean? That you come and bring, if I give my tithe and offering, I'm told that God's going to bless me, but all I see is a Bentley, but it's not for me. I catch the bus, you take a limo to church, kind of thing. And that is the misconception, because it's not the majority of pastors who do that.
But I've always also been a giver. So there always seems to be here to here. And as long as I'm doing here, there always has seemed to be some to reach back and do this. So I'm thinking, as long as I'm doing this, there'll always be some to do this. I imagine the day I do this, maybe there won't be this to do.
I believe the misconceptions that people have about pastors is that it always surrounds money, to be honest with you, that all the money that people give, that it really doesn't go to the lights, it really doesn't go to the air conditioning and heating systems, it really doesn't go to feeding ministries and ministry events and all of these things, when it really, really, really does. Because the light, just like the lights in your house don't stay on if you don't pay it. You don't have energy, you don't have power, the trash doesn't get picked up if you don't pay it. And so those are the resources that the money goes towards, that the people give to the house. And we give as unto God anyway. We don't give, to any person. So even if we're at a ministry or something and the pastors aren't doing the right things with the money, we still are giving our money as though it is unto God. So that whole thing is off the table. The other thing is, the misconception is that the pastors have it all together and that they don't make any mistakes and they have reached the pinnacle of their growth in God. And it's not true. Everybody's fighting a good fight of faith. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's trying to keep a righteous lifestyle. Everybody's battling with sin. Everybody has struggles. Everybody, look here, pastors don't want to come to church on Sunday sometimes too. How about that? So it's just the truth of what it is.
People don't come every Sunday.
I know the people definitely don't come. So we get tired. We do get tired, and when we draw back, it's not because we don't want to be pastors or to pastor you, or because we don't like you. I think people judge pastors too quickly and forget the humanness and the human side. So I walked past you and didn't speak to you. It was because I really didn't see you. I wasn't mad at you. I wasn't trying not to speak to you. I wasn't trying to send you a subliminal message. I'm sorry, I really didn't see you. And you'd be surprised how often that happens, where it's interesting that when you're up front or when you're on a platform, the perception that people have of you and believe you to be, and everybody has their own perception and everybody has their own design of how their pastor should be. And I think that's a huge misconception, outside of the fact that we're just people. We're just people who said yes to God and are trying to do it right.
I believe legacy is left in portions, and the first portion for me is my children. A legacy left not only for them, but left within them. And our desire as parents is for them, first of all, to be God-fearing and to live a life that says that I'm a child of God. Not necessarily a religious life, but a life that shows that I have a relationship with God, that's not phony. You know what I mean? It's not a fad. This is real. It's a real relationship. And no, I don't float, throughout the day, and I don't pray in tongues all day, but my life is for real. And that's one of the things we want. They don't have to preach. They don't have to build and grow a church. They don't have to be worship leaders. They don't have to do any of that stuff, but live effective Christian lives. Is part of the legacy that we want to leave inside of them, and to be productive as people, to live purposeful. That's one legacy to me. Another part is a legacy within ministry, a ministry legacy, to be left that we are real people who serve God with excellence and integrity. Not perfect people in the sense that we don't never get anything wrong, or they're always right, always good, not that kind of thing, but that we work through struggle, we overcome obstacles and opposition, we celebrate ourselves and people, just being regular, being regular. We cry, we suffer hurt, we make mistakes, and sometimes we don't correct them. You know what I mean? And right away, and we get to them. But being regular and still being who God is called to lead, but leaving that type of legacy of a care for people and a commitment to God and to the Word of God, and so that type of another compartment of legacy. And then also on another sense is of people who were business minded, leaving something for people, for someone to be able to grab hold of and continue with. And for me, that's really important, because what if my children aren't called to preach? What else do I leave them to be able to take up to live their lives? What if they're not called to be a worship leader? What if they're not called to a particular church function? What else have I prepared for them so that they would be able to live out their lives? The scripture says that a good father leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And so an inheritance that's deep enough to last beyond a generation. And so that's kind of what my idea of legacy is to impart something and to leave something for my children and for those who would be here after I'm gone, that's deep enough to last beyond them, and something that has enough substance that it's meaningful. If it's not meaningful to the entire world, it's meaningful to those people who we're close to, that they'll be able to hold on to.